My last top 10 short manga video was very well received, so I just couldn't help but follow it up with another because there's just so many good short manga out there that need more love. Like before, I'll be trying to avoid any super well-known recommendations like Fullmetal Alchemist or Death Note. Also, I'll only be including one manga per author so the list has more variety. With all that out of the way, let's start out this list with... Look at this droopy dog. Do you really need me to say more to get you to read this? I mean, yeah, you probably do. Seraphim 266,613,336 wings is Satoshi Kon and Mamoru Oshii's incredible hidden gem that sadly went unfinished. Although there are still plenty of chapters to enjoy here and is definitely worth your time even though it never got the proper ending it really deserved. The story is set in a world on the edge of an apocalypse due to a plague called Seraphim that causes people to grow wings, have vivid hallucinations, and inevitably die. Nobody knows quite exactly how this disease is even spread or how it developed even after countless experiments. So the plot follows two men, a young girl, and a dog that are sent on a mission to find more answers about this enigmatic disease. As they travel all over the world to new lands, new mysteries unfold about the young girl, the nature of the disease, and even the nature of their mission itself. The different places they go to all have different well-thought-out cultures that have been impacted by the plague in different ways. It's really interesting to see our main characters struggle to get through these different places. They meet resistance and challenges everywhere they go, and it makes for a really gripping, globe-trotting journey. I would be a fool not to mention just how incredible Satoshi Kon's artwork is here. The action in particular really caught my eye, and there were some really unique things I've never seen in a manga before or since. Such as the way bullets impact people, it's drawn in this way that really conveys the kinetic impact in an interesting way. Other than the action, the amount of detail in every drawing is just ridiculous. So many pages had me stopping and staring in awe. So, the world is well realized, the art is stunning, and the story is really well written. The only shame is that this amazing work of art never got an actual ending. Check this one out if you're a fan of Satoshi Kon and Mamoru Oshii, or mysterious post-apocalyptic feeling stories that have great worlds and premises. Chronowar is kind of an enigma to me in that it has very little information about its author online, which is surprising because it's a really solid story with incredible art, reminiscent of Katsuhiro Otomo. Chronowar's premise is really intriguing. A robotic alien being crash lands on Earth, and in an attempt to spread its knowledge to the people there, it affixes itself to the people nearest to the crash. Doing this allows these people to experience time in the way that the robot does, at 10,000 times the speed of humans, which basically lets them move around in a frozen moment essentially. This new experience of time, combined with the flood of incomprehensible knowledge the robot is trying to communicate, makes the first person the robot attaches to completely lose it and get violent. Thankfully, the robot uses words to communicate with the other two people they attach to instead of blasting them with overwhelming information, so those two are able to keep their cool. What entails is a battle within frozen time between the guy who turned violent and the other two people stuck in this frozen moment. These fights end up being really cool in the ways time affects them, such as needing to use a grappling hook type thing to get around when gravity is 10,000 times slower. The characters use this to dash across floating pieces of stone caught in an explosion in the opening action scene, and it makes for a really interesting battle to open the manga. So this manga has good action, but it also takes the time to explore the interesting aspects of this robot alien being, and has compelling character moments too. A particular highlight is when the robot shows the main characters where it came from and its purpose, as the characters themselves discuss their personal philosophies about the current otherworldly situation they find themselves in. The sci-fi concepts are explored on a surprisingly deep level, and the fights where the characters are frozen in time play out in really interesting ways. These two aspects of the manga kept me hooked on this well-paced story full of twists and turns. Check this one out if you want a hidden gem that will surprise you with the strength of its intriguing premise and its stellar artwork. National Quiz is an absurd concept with absurd art and absurd dialogue. It's a manga where the government of Japan is centered around a quiz game show that grants people any wish that money and power could bring. Yet somehow all this absurdity is underpinned by a very real social commentary about capitalism and power hierarchies. If you take part in the quiz and lose, you face a punishment proportionate to the size of your wish. You could become a prisoner or sometimes face death. This brutal system where people are controlled by the tantalizing yet punishing quiz is upheld by a fiercely fascist militaristic government. So those are kind of serious concepts, but by taking those to the extreme, National Quiz is able to shine a light brightly on things that can go overlooked in real life. The main character of this story is the host of the National Quiz, who is themselves a prisoner who previously lost the quiz. The plot follows them slowly getting involved in the resistance movements against the quiz and exploring their personal history. This entire story is incredibly over the top and strange, but despite this, it always takes the time to explore its characters in really interesting ways. It's an unexpectedly compelling story under its wacky surface. The one thing that might turn people away is the art style. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think it really does a good job of being super expressive and unique, so for me it worked. Check this one out if you like absurd premises that actually take the time to seriously explore them and make them really interesting. What if the wondrous, thriving world you knew was built upon the shoulders of thousands of people suffering? Then you'd get the world of Number 6. Wait, isn't that just real life? Number 6 is a sharp critique of capitalist society explored through its two main characters. We have Shion, who grew up in a privileged sector of this world known as Number 6, and Nezumi, someone who grew up being exploited by Number 6 and now wants to reveal the truth about this exploitative society. Their lives become intertwined as Shion's sheltered view of the world is shattered and the mysteries behind this corrupt society start to unravel. We get murder mysteries, political intrigue, explorations of propaganda and societal brainwashing, and most importantly, cute dogs. Okay, but really, Number 6 is a biting social commentary that never feels forced, but it's still a fun read even if you're not trying to connect its messages to the real world. Part of what makes it so fun is that Number 6 takes the time to have really touching character moments that make you more invested in the story. It does a great job of having its characters learn and change over time. As they explore more of the world and meet more interesting people, the two main characters who seem like opposites at first really bond and grow together. Shion has to let go of their sheltered views and resist the propaganda that they grew up with their entire life. Meanwhile, Nezumi has to embrace a new friendship after being so guarded from all the trauma they've been through. Shion and Nezumi's journey together is one of the best relationships I've actually seen in manga, and the way they care for each other is really touching. The anime is good for this one too, so give that a shot if you prefer to watch instead of read. Check this one out if you like mangas with interesting social critiques and well-developed character relationships. Aria is a sci-fi slice-of-life story about a future where Mars has been terraformed. The story takes place in a city that's similar to Venice, Italy, where the streets are all waterways and gondolas are the most common form of travel. It's kind of a funny case where a super out-there premise is used for a relatively calm and relaxing story. This story follows a few different gondola drivers as they meet different interesting characters on the rides they give. You won't find an action-packed thrill ride here. This manga is more focused on exploring really interesting characters and traveling around a beautiful world. The stories within are emotionally impactful character-driven tales that explore a lot of different interesting ideas and themes. However, even though the writing is not afraid to explore deep themes, the manga doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a lot of fun to be had in the cute and funny moments too. There are also intriguing supernatural occurrences peppered throughout the story to keep you intrigued in the sci-fi elements of this world. That being said, this is still mainly a slice-of-life manga, so the overarching story is never too much of the focus. However, the short-form stories that play out are engaging enough to keep you reading on their own. I also have to mention that the art is really stunning at some points and there's some really beautiful shots of the environment. Check this one out if you want to float through a chill slice-of-life story with a really interesting setting. Dennou Coil is a story about an alternate reality game, something like Pokemon Go, where it projects digital things onto the real world. Things start to get interesting when mysterious glitches start appearing in the game and the line between the digital world and the real world starts to blur. This sci-fi story of a group of kids exploring the mysteries behind the game goes a lot of different places. Sometimes it's super cute, sometimes it can be a little scary or creepy, and sometimes it's really emotionally impactful. Seeing the mysteries of this world unravel in this really tightly paced, well-developed universe is satisfying from start to finish. The game in Dennou Coil is really well thought out, including things like illegal tools for altering the game in strange ways, hacking methods, viruses, and programs that combat all those things. This game and the glitchy mysteries within feel like really well thought out sci-fi concepts and not just some gimmick. Also, it must be mentioned that the digital pets all the kids have are stupidly cute. All those kids are really well written and have very distinct personalities that play off each other well. Despite being kids, these characters explore surprisingly deep themes of loneliness, loss, and other interesting topics. These interesting themes and the great characters make it so that the plot's emotional moments really hit hard. I also really recommend the anime adaptation for Dennou Coil because I prefer the art style of the anime more, and the animation really added a lot in terms of selling the glitchy effects distorting the real world. And you get to see those super cute pets running around. Check this one out if you want a mystery that has a lot of emotional weight and you want to see the cutest digital dog of all time. Have you ever been casually walking down the street on a regular day and then suddenly you're blasted through the universe on an intense DMT trip? Yeah, that's basically Astroid. There's no dialogue in this manga, it's strictly a trippy journey through different people and places, all loosely connected by a seemingly shared psychedelic-like experience. The art here is absolutely incredible, and despite the fact that there's no dialogue, there's still some meaning to be drawn from what little connective story tissue there is here. The unexplainable connection to ancestry and the inner workings of the world are explored through this journey, and trying to piece together what this trip means can be really fun. Because there's no dialogue, I find myself returning to reread this one a few times because it's so enjoyable and easy to get through. Honestly, if you're blasting through it, you can finish it in like 10 minutes. There's nothing else I've ever read that even comes close to capturing what this special experience is, so I think I'll be returning to it many more times too. It's kinda hard to say any more about this manga. I mean, it's kinda just a wild trip of art from start to finish. I don't think you need to be into drugs or anything either to enjoy it. The art is just stunning no matter what. Check this one out if you want something to read where you don't actually have to read, and you just want to see some mind-blowing art in manga form. Kabocha no Bouken is the ultimate palette cleanser. It's one of the cutest manga I've ever read, and yet still it manages to draw a lot of meaningful insights into life from the relationship the main character has with their cat named Kabocha. It's a wholesome story of living in the countryside with a cute cat who wanders freely around the farm. The emotional connection between the main character and the cat is really well thought out, and the way he worries about Kabocha when they're off exploring in nature is really cute. The way they talk to their cat even though there's no other people there, and the way they try to understand the mindset of Kabocha makes this a really touching and relatable relationship that will remind you of your own relationship with your pets. The main character often describes the life of Kabocha in really imaginative and funny ways, like when they see Kabocha chasing a squirrel and make it feel like an intense anime showdown. This is a really relaxing read though. The small stories that take place are really heartwarming and cute, and the art perfectly suits this laid-back style of storytelling. Daisuke Igarashi is a master of drawing scenes of nature, and you can't find any other mangaka who draws quite like this. The big highlight of Kabocha no Bouken's art is the watercolor pages. They really stand out for their vibrant, beautiful depictions of landscapes and cute animals. In fact, a lot of this manga is done in color, and it really adds to the unique charm. Even if you're not typically into slice of life stuff, I think this one will still amaze you with its art regardless. So check this one out if you've been reading too many dark stories lately and need something light and heartwarming. At number 2, we have number 5. I can't believe that on the same list I have a manga called number 6 and one called number 5, and neither take up the number 5 or 6 spots. Anyways, number 5 by Taiyō Matsumoto is about an organization of 10 powerful people who are used as figureheads for the military's propaganda. They're kind of like a superhero group, but they're not really a force for good and are mostly used just to boost the government's image. Number 5 of these 10 betrays the organization and runs away with a woman that they've fallen in love with. The core of the story is them being hunted down one by one by the other 9 members of the group as we learn more about the members through little story vignettes that develop their characters. This would make it seem like the story follows a simple formulaic structure, but that couldn't be further from the truth. This is a strange and surreal journey through a stunningly well-realized sci-fi world. The truth about the world and characters is revealed very strangely over time, but that's what makes it so compelling. You get to put the pieces of this interesting world together yourself. If you find the manga confusing for its off-kilter approach to storytelling, there's still a lot to enjoy simply by taking in the incredible artwork. You can easily get lost in all the details of the different unique cultures of this really well thought out world. Taiyō Matsumoto's signature style of unique paneling is used to great effect here, and the way they use snapshots of all the little details to establish the world building is really unique and an impressive use of the medium. Number 5 has some of my favorite manga pages of all time, and the volume covers are straight up just some of my favorite art ever. Check this one out if you want to take a surreal journey through an enigmatic world and see some truly breathtaking art. Do you remember Astro Boy, the cute Osamu Tezuka story from back in the day? Well, what if you took that universe and had an intense murder mystery take place? Yeah, then you'd get Pluto by Naoki Urasawa. The mystery begins with a series of murders of people and robots. Investigating them is the android detective Geschicht. Their unique capabilities as an android made it really fun to see them solve the case, and their character being built for mystery solving is explored in really interesting ways. It may seem weird to say this, but all the robot characters feel very human. Their personalities feel like their own, but they're still somewhat influenced by the creator's intent when they were making them. So Geschicht's cold and calculating personality stems from their role as a detective, but their longing to experience more human-like emotions makes them feel like their own person. Because of the well thought out personalities of the characters, the emotional weight of all the mysterious occurrences really hits hard even when the scenarios mostly involve robots. All of Urasawa's manga are solid, but Pluto is when they really started to perfect their style of mystery storytelling. Before, their mysteries tended to drag out reveals for a bit too long, but that's not the case for Pluto. The pacing is amazing and all the characters are super interesting even if you don't have any knowledge of the Astro Boy universe like I didn't. Other than the main mystery story, you get a lot of vignettes of different characters that have their own little sub-stories that explore them deeper than you may expect. So you get these satisfying character moments to keep you engaged, but as the manga goes on, these side stories start to tie into the main story in a really satisfying way, all culminating into interesting mystery reveals and intense action. The art here is incredible too. The way Urasawa adapted such a simplistic and cute art style to fit his more grounded and realistic one somehow really works. The imagery of some panels in this manga have stuck with me for a really long time after reading. So check this one out if you love sci-fi mystery stories and want one with super tight pacing and well-developed characters. So there's 10 more amazing short manga to check out. Let me know your favorite short manga in the comments. I'll definitely be doing more manga recommendation videos in the future too, so subscribe if you want to see more of that. That's all I've got for now, so thanks so much for watching and I hope you have a great day.